of the St. Vrain Valley School Board. Thank you all for being here this evening. It feels like to have all these students here feels like a special Valentine's gift to us. And in return, our gift to you will be that we'll keep our board report short. So with that, if you would, please join us in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That's awesome.
You know what? That really is marvelous to hear all those young voices. Thank you all for being here. So, Barb, would you please call the roll?
Yes, thanks, Bob. Mr. Ahrens?
Here.
Dr. Martyr? Here. Ms. Pierce?
Here.
Mrs. Ragland?
Here.
Ms. Segrist? Here. Mrs. Cisco is absent. Mr. Smith?
Here. And I want to point out that Lena is here as our student advisory representative. Would you introduce yourself, please?
I can do it. That's fine. I'm Lena Wiseman. I'm a senior at Skyline High School. You're all pretty familiar faces, so hello again.
Well, thank you for being here. And Lena, as usual, I would invite you as we go through the agenda, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to participate, because that's really why we wanted you to be here. Okay? All right, excellent. Thank you. And Barb, did we have any changes to the agenda?
We did not, and we have no visitors signed up.
No visitors. All right. Well, what I will do is a couple of suggestions. One, I'd like to suggest that we move our reports up, particularly the Skyline High School Student Advisory Council feeder report. We'll move that up before the board reports. And so that you guys can get out of here and do your homework. But first, let me ask our assistant superintendent for HR, Ella. Do you want to introduce our new hires before we get down into the consent items?
Thank you, Bob. I'd like to call Damon Brown up. I was going to say Samuel. Damon Brown, as you know, Damon and I have worked closely together for the past few years, and I am retiring at the end of this year, and so we had to find a replacement. And so I'm really happy to say that Damon is a great fit for HR. He knows the department, he knows the people there, and he's done it in various other districts as well in Mapleton. And so he's just going to be a great addition, and I'm glad that I'm going to get to work with him until the end of June and really make a smooth transition. And so, I couldn't be happier as the person taking my place, so I'm really grateful to that, and I wish him the best. And you want to say a few words?
Only that I'm just humbled and honored by the opportunity to fill this role. It's a great one. It's an important one for the school district, and a lot of our investment is in people, and we're a people business. So I look forward to being one of the people that supports that part of our work. So thank you.
Very good.
All right, so the next one is also a familiar face, Mr. Brian Krause. So Brian's been with us for the last 2 years as Student Services Executive Director. He came from Jefferson County, where he did the same similar job. And it feels like he's been with us a lot longer than 2 years, just because of everything that he's done for the district. One in particular is he's really changed, revamped the threat assessments. And we really have a quicker turnover. We feel that our kids are in a safer, better place because of that. And so I just want to thank him for that. And I'm just really glad that he's going to be one of the area assistant soups that will be working directly with HR. So, Brian Krause.
Thank you, Ella. I just want to say thank you for the opportunity. I feel blessed to be in the school district and look forward to working with the schools and the principals more closely, and to be part of such a strong team is an honor. So thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Brian.
All right, and my last one is Johnny Terrell. He's coming from Adams 12. And actually, it was after we hired Brian, it was, where are we going to find someone to fit the shoes of Brian Krause? Here he is. So we interviewed Johnny, and we thought, wow, he's doing the exact same job in Adams 12 that Brian Krause is doing here for us. And when we interviewed him, I can tell you, he's known as Coach T, and I was so drawn into his interview. I mean, I was like one of those players that put me in, Coach, I'm ready to go. And I can see why he's called Coach T, really, because he was just that inspirational, just positive. When we interviewed him, and he, any interaction that I have with him, he's just really positive. And so just his background, I know he'll do great things. And he was recognized when he was a principal at Thornton High School. He did a lot of great things in Thornton, got kids the graduation rate to go up. And so he was nationally recognized for that. And so we're just very fortunate that he's able to join us as well. So Johnny Terrell. And I know he has some guests with him.
And like Damon, I am truly humbled by this opportunity to serve in the St. Vrain Valley School District. And so on behalf of my wonderful family here, my wife, Tanya Terrell, we're a package deal, and my daughter, my youngest daughter, Nia Terrell, and my oldest goes to the University of Colorado at Boulder. Very proud to say that. I know we have some CSU alums in here. That's a nice place also. It's a great school. But I would be remiss if I did not say that every single person that I've met at the St. Vrain Valley School District through this process has literally kept their word to the T, to the letter. And I've been in education for 22 years, and I have never seen a group of people who represent St. Vrain Valley School District keep their word. I mean, to the date that they were going to call you, anything that needed to be corrected was corrected right away. And that's really a testament to the leadership before me here. That's a testament to the culture and the climate represented here in St. Vrain Valley School District, and most importantly, the character that these individuals have shown. And I really appreciate that, because all we have is our word at the end of the day. And so thank you. I'm humbled, and I look forward to serving the students and the family of St. Vrain Valley School District.
Johnny, thank you. Thank you very much for those comments. We really appreciate it, and we welcome you and Brian and congratulate. And I want to point out that we do this because although we approve the hirees, really this board only has one employee. The school board hires the superintendent, and it's the superintendent's job then to pick all the folks that he does. And but please know that you have this board's 100% support, and as do the rest of the staff. We really appreciate it. Don?
Yeah, I wanted to just say hang on. Yeah, I turn it on, then I turn it off. But I was visiting with your former superintendent, and he said, I have a bone to pick with you. You took one of our best, so he was just glowing in his recommendation. And then I was also at another luncheon and ran into a couple of colleagues of yours that one was the deputy superintendent, and came right up to me and said the exact same thing, and just have heard nothing but glowing remarks. I also know that you had an opportunity to work with Jackie Capuchin, and one of the things that Jackie had said earlier on is, I know this gentleman, and we have to hire him because he's a superstar. So thank you for making the choice to come and join our team. And to your family, thank you for joining St. Vrain. We look forward to seeing more of you. So thanks a lot.
All right. And Don, when you go to case meetings, do you blame hiring away all these people on HR people, or do you take? All right, very good. All right. Well, with that, then we'd like to jump to agenda item 6, 6.1, which would be the Skyline High School Student Advisory Feeder Report.
All right.
And
It's
Dina.
my pleasure to bring Heidi Ringer up, who is the principal of Skyline High. She'll kick off the presentation. And I would say nothing gets us more grounded in our mission than to hear directly from students. And I believe you're going to hear from students from every one of the schools in our Skyline feeder.
That's
So
great.
there's remarkable work happening there, and I'm just really honored to work with this feeder system. So Heidi?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us here tonight. It's really a pleasure to work in this feeder, and I think it's because we have such amazing principals that I work with and their students that they have. And I think one thing that we all have in common beyond STEM, beyond the curriculum, is that we are a community. We are really a Skyline feeder community, and I think that's really important to us. I saw these people hugging their former principals or teachers, and so many of our kids want to go back to their elementary and do the graduation walk. So it's really important that we are together as a feeder. And so I'm really proud to be at Skyline and to see all of these kids come through. So it's going to be great to hear from all of them tonight, so you see how we all fit together. And that's really the theme of what my student advisory group put together with Lena, Kenny, Haley, and Diego. The idea was that we weren't going to do a presentation via technology. We wanted to hear from our kids about how we all fit together and how those puzzle pieces work. So you're going to get a chance to look at the puzzle pieces from every school and hear our students talk. So in addition to the community, I have my own 2 little children here tonight. So they're a little awestruck. They thought they were going to Heidi's school, not the board meeting. So anyway, but thank you for having us, and thank you for supporting our feeder always. We truly feel that you support everything we do in the Skyline feeder with all that we have going on. So thank you very much for all of that. I'm going to turn it over to Lena right now, who's going to describe the process, and we're going to hear from our kids. Thank you.
So what has happened is each school is being represented by a puzzle piece. These puzzle pieces are going to be put together to create a larger puzzle, and each one, as the kids from each school speak, are going to be passed around. So we'll bring you the board piece and the puzzle piece, and you can pass it around the board, and then we'll all put it on this display board, and it will make a puzzle as we hear from all of these wonderful students. Yeah. So first up is Rocky Mountain.
Good evening. I am Jill Fuller. I am the principal of Rocky Mountain Elementary, and tonight I am excited to introduce Yahaley and Jesus to you.
Good evening. My name is Yahaley Soto Pulido. I am a 5th student at Rocky Mountain Elementary.
Good evening. My name is Jesus del Rio Cardosa. I am a 4th grader student at Rocky Mountain.
Tonight we want to tell you about the Blended Library project at Rocky Mountain. In less than 1 year, our traditional library has been transitioned to a blended library. We now call this space the IROC zone. The purpose of the Blended Library at Rocky Mountain is to engage students in learning opportunities that value our unique ideas and recognize our diversity as learners and thinkers. In the IROC zone, our learning opportunities are endless. Every week, every grade level spends 1 hour in the IROC zone.
Our school's librarian, computer tech, and STEM coordinator work together to create experiences for students that allow us to be risk takers, thinkers, leaders, and creators. The activities are both engaging and innovative. Like a traditional library, we still read and check out books, but our learning experiences in the IROC zone also provide opportunities to use technology and engage in design thinking challenges. Our imaginations are also key as we explore new ideas and create new things. Some of our favorite activities are coding using Beatsbox, programming robots like Kubelets, engineering design challenges, and cutting up with a great book on our brand new beanbags.
That occurred to me after I spoke.
I'm Audrey Siebold, and I'm the principal of Columbine Elementary. And with me tonight, representing Columbine, I have Jonathan Sanchez, Aaliyah Bonilla, Deja Bonilla, Victor Jimenez, Angela Marquez, and Serenity McCoy.
Our puzzle piece shows what is most important to us, our students. At Columbine, it is important that every student has an opportunity to grow and learn. Columbine Elementary welcomes any type of student.
People are nice to each other. The teachers are always focused on you, and it's very comforting when you walk into Columbine. We have really fun after-school programs too, like basketball, robotics, dance, crafternoon, and Friday fun. Our VEX Robotics team had another amazing year. We participated in the tournaments at Northridge Elementary and Westview Middle School. And we hosted a tournament last weekend. We have learned to work hard and never give up, even when we're frustrated.
Students also explore the world through STEM and design thinking. We have opportunities to pursue our own interests in genius hour projects. We all agree that we love and know all of the different projects that we work on at school.
I like to be a veterinarian. I'm learning about animals and science, and I might have to build prototypes or work with other veterinarians to help animals. Please stop by Columbine to see our students in action. You'll be amazed.
Columbine is getting ready for our future. I hope to be a doctor. Learning about the body systems right now is awesome and will help prepare me for this career. It also helps that our teachers coach us to never give up.
Well done, guys. That was terrific.
Hi, I'm Amber Marsalik, the principal at Alpine Elementary, and here are phenomenal students from Alpine.
Hi, my name is Will. This is Isabel and Amelia. We're students at Alpine Elementary. At Alpine, students have many opportunities to join events and programs that create relationships and student, teacher, and community connections. From Media Club and Robotics, to Running Club and Allegria Choir, to the annual Fund Run and IB Nights, teachers in the community come together to create lifelong relationships.
Alpine is an international baccalaureate school. IB students are encouraged to think independently, become aware of the community, and to take action that demonstrates socially responsible attitudes. One element of IB is exhibition, an in-depth collaborative inquiry that enables students to explore multiple perspectives and take action. We created the central idea, empathy promotes change. Alpine 5th graders are currently working on exhibition, and we will present to the school community on February 22nd.
When speaking to several teachers at Alpine, they felt that design thinking is a big part of learning at our school. Kids develop understanding and empathy and identify needs in people they're helping. When we spoke with students, they loved all the opportunities they have at Alpine as IB STEM students, like going to Calwood, participating in after-school clubs, and learning about units of inquiry. We love that our teachers make learning fun. It's a fact. Alpine is the place to be.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Guthels, the principal at Fall River Elementary. We have the courage to be outstanding, and I thought it might give you the best picture of Fall River to hear from our students what they are dreaming of doing when they're grown up, and what at Fall River has either inspired or supported that dream. They actually entered into an essay contest at our school, so these are the winners. As you will see, the essays are going around, and they were too long to fit into our 2 minutes allotted. So they helped me write a little synopsis from their essay, and they're going to each read that. I have Holton Lowry, Sarah Miller, Gavin Garung, and Natalie Schaefer.
Hi, I'm Holton, and when I grow up, I want to work at a trampoline park and do a job that keeps me healthy and lets me see kids happy every day. My teacher has a framed quote that says, "All of our dreams come true if we have the courage to pursue them." Fall River has encouraged me to live a healthy life and has taught me to set goals in life and keep going no matter what.
Hi, I'm Sarah, and my dream job is to be an author of fantasy books. My inspiration for my dream job is all of the writing assignments we've done in math and reading, and all the books we've read that taught me different styles of writing and the properties of a good book. Now I realize how much I like to write.
Hi, my name is Gavin. My future dream job would be a technological programmer. I love to do anything with technology, from computers to iPads. I absolutely love coding and know how to code and use technology because of Fall River introducing me to Scratch, Bitsbox, Chromebooks, and iPads.
Hello, my name is Natalie Schaefer. My future dream job is to be a teacher. Fall River has enriched my dream by teaching me how to have critical thinking, remain positive in the face of challenges, be independent, be collaborative, be creative, have empathy, and be organized. I've learned these things through our student-powered projects, STEM leadership, and peer mentorship.
Wow. Well, thank you, guys. That was really terrific. And by the way, I can tell by your penmanship, none of you are planning to be doctors, because I can read everything.
We do teach cursive at Fall River.
That was that was just marvelous, marvelous penmanship.
Good evening. I'm Jeff Frebin, the assistant principal at Timberline PK8. Our principal, Carrie Borski, just returned back to work 2 days ago from surgery, and unfortunately, with her recovery plan, is not able to come here tonight. But I know she is extremely proud of our 8th graders who are here to speak tonight. And when I spoke to these girls about this opportunity, it was really clear what was on their mind, and it's the excitement of going up to high school, the transition, and all the things that they've been exposed to. So I have Aisha Fragoso and Marisol Garcia here to speak a little bit about that.
So I'm here to talk about ICAP, which is a program that's really helped me personally with my transition to high school, because when I walked into 8th grade first, I had no idea what I wanted to be, what career I wanted to pursue. But through surveys and quizzes to help me find my personality and help me see what types of careers might interest me, I learned that I actually want to be an ethical hacker. And so it's really helped me because not only does it help me see the careers I might want to take, but it also helps me with future scholarships that I can start applying to now, and that are renewable, and that not only me, because I come from a Hispanic family, not only can I not afford to go to college, but it helps me way even more to pursue my dream and to actually finish it.
Wow.
I'll be talking about how counselors from Skyline have been very helpful throughout the process of signing up for the programs we're going to take for next year. They've been coming down here at Timberline to help us and talk about the classes we're going to take for next year. It's been really helpful for them to come and help us throughout the process, and it's really helpful for me.
Thank you both very much. We really appreciate you sharing your stories. Thank you.
Good evening. I am Josh Lemon. I'm the STEM coordinator from Trail Ridge Middle School. Eddie Cloak is our principal. He's in the back. He's in the back because we were worried that he's so handsome he actually might break those cameras. So we represent Trail Ridge Middle School. I have Ariel Anguiano Solis and Selena Nguyen, and together we brainstormed some things that make Trail Ridge great. And you'll see on our puzzle piece, the very far left, we actually have a student who is sick. He wasn't able to be with us tonight, but he is in our Significant Support Needs program. And one thing that you'll hear about Trail Ridge is that we are very inclusive and we have a great culture around us. So I wanted Juan to be here because he is a big part of our culture and what makes Trail Ridge great. He has his own classroom, our SSM program, but throughout most of the day you'll see him included in our other classes, and you can actually see him really being embodied and included with every other student. So here's Ariel.
Hello, my name is Ariel. I am a 7th grader at Trail Ridge Middle School, and my school is a STEM school. We do design thinking where students work on complicated projects by brainstorming solutions. We are also collaborators because we work together by doing big projects like making posters, essays, 3D models, and programming. We are diverse because we have a lot of people with different backgrounds from all over the world. We care for others and not just ourselves. We are Bionic. Bionic stands for Believe It or Not, I Care, and National Junior Honor Society. These clubs are there to help our community grow happier and nicer and to grow a positive culture.
Hello, my name is Selena, and I'm a 7th grader as well. So for the STEM school, we do design challenges. Like last year, I had to create a bulletin board where the students can read up on to see what they do instead of only relying on the teachers. And we have our electives where you can express your talents and just express yourself through music, language, art, voice, instruments, performance, and technology. For core extension, we like to express STEM in our school, like learning how to type, do yoga, learn how to play chess, designing for real-world problems, creating video games, and building robots. We are competitive, but since we are competitive, we have the courage of failing and the courage of always pushing forward. And for our clubs, the clubs are there for all the grade levels to get together to collaborate on hobbies and ideas like student council, sports, NJHS, girls coding, rainbow, science, and Vex robotics.
Thank you.
Okay, so next is Skyline. Now,
Thank you. I guess I'm in charge of talking about the academics. And I mean, I'm sure you hear this from every kid who gives you one of these presentations, but I wouldn't go anywhere but Skyline. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm Kenneth Frederick. I am a junior at Skyline High School. We have so many great programs. There's really any career you want, you can take it at Skyline. We've got the VPA for, the more left brain. We've got P-Tech and STEM for those of us who are more inclined to use our thinking. I'm humbled every time I talk with family or a distant relative, because every time I tell them what I'm doing in STEM, they say, we didn't have that when I was growing up. Right now, I'm designing robots that can do surgery inside of a patient's abdomen. Tell me another school where you can do that. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Diego Chavez, and I'm a sophomore at Skyline High School. And I don't even know where to start with extracurricular activities because we just have so many. And at Skyline High School, I'm involved with soccer, and I'm also in student council. And me personally, I think, I'm proud to say that we were the first team in Skyline history that made it to the quarterfinals this year. And for that, that made an impact on all of Skyline, and that you could tell, you had everybody supporting you and everybody through the club supporting you. And, we have so many clubs, we have to a yoga club, we have, I guess you consider soccer and basketball and all those clubs too, because that's just how Skyline, runs together.
Hi, I'm Haley Johnson. I'm a senior at Skyline High School, and I'm actually part of student council and the softball program. What I really like about Skyline is we really focus on leadership. Like for sports, we have leadership meetings for a select few every Wednesday, every late start, and I think that's really awesome. And being a part of student council, I've gotten an opportunity to be such a great leader, and I've learned a lot. We have trunk or treat for the little kids, and so all of the feeder schools can come in and go around to our cars, get some candy for Halloween, and then right now we have an event called Family Feud, and we're really excited for it. We have a couple of teams coming out, and it's a new event, so hopefully it goes well.
Okay, so the last piece going around is a We Are Skyline piece. Last year, Skyline started a We Are Skyline movement, and basically it's there to unify a very diverse school. So on that piece, you're going to see in big letters, We Are Skyline. Around that in red, you're going to see our feeder schools, because our feeder schools eventually make up who is at Skyline. And around that in black, you're going to find words like artists, innovators, mathematicians, engineers, discoverers. And because all of the students at Skyline represent all of these different types of people, and that is something we're very proud of, and the way that we can bring all of these different people together through our various academic programs like STEM and VPA and PTech, as well as our athletic programs from football to golf to swimming to softball to did I say PTech? And PTech to our computer science programs. So we're really just proud of everything that we can do at Skyline and what we can provide for all different kinds of people. So to that, I want to say thank you to all of you and to our principal and to our superintendent for allowing us to have these opportunities to begin with. So thank you.
Before we finish up, I just want to thank the parents who are here also. If you're a parent of one of these wonderful students, would you please stand so we can recognize you? Thank you for being here on Valentine's evening and all the support. Thank you so much. Students, you did just an outstanding job. I think that if I were a kid, I would want to go to all of your schools. You made it sound like just a wonderful place to go to school. So we're really proud of each one of you. I'm wondering if the board or Dawn or anyone has questions for our student advisory students or anything else that you'd like us to share.
Paula.
I don't particularly have questions, but I just wanted to comment, if that's okay. So I know Kenny had asked us earlier today kind of what to expect in presenting to the board, and I had shared back that we really wanted to hear your story from all the feeder systems, because we know a lot of the facts and figures, but we just like to hear the reality of it. And you nailed it. And I know you didn't plan it in one day, so you knew what you were doing. And then I also want to just point out with the Skyline feeder, Lena kind of summed a lot of it up that I was going to say about how the feeder is very large. I think it's our biggest one as far as number of schools, and it's very diverse. But it's so well vertically integrated. Like the kids, just kind of flow right through, and that's really. I'm showing my age, but that's a testament of a lot of hard work on the part of the leadership and the principals in those schools, and the students and the families, because 15 years ago, when my kids started in this feeder, it wasn't like that. It was a much more fractured place. So there's really been so much work done to create that community and create that family. So I just want to thank everybody involved that made that happen. And I also want to just thank the younger students for coming as well, because I see them, and then it's just so lovely to see the progression of the elementary school, the middle school, and the high school kids, and then We know their story. Lena just got some very good news as far as what her next step is, which would you care to share with us?
I've been accepted and will be attending Lehigh University in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
Very good.
Fantastic. And then even beyond that, like college is a very public next step for our students, but it goes, I know students from this feeder that are U.S. Marines and that have gone to University of Pennsylvania, Vanderbilt University. I mean, it's endless, and are also still in our community working. So it's just the beginning. Like, it's just really the tip of the iceberg, and this story will stay with all of you for the rest of your lives. So we just thank you for building this community with us and allowing us to be part of it. Great presentation. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you, Paula. I'd add a couple of comments if I could. First, I want to thank the parents because this doesn't happen without a parent-school partnership, and we recognize that. We appreciate that. Your involvement means everything. Two, I want to recognize the building leadership, the leaders that are here tonight, Jill, Audrey, Amber, Jennifer, Jeff, Josh, the too handsome for his own good, Eddie Cloak, and Heidi as well. Because really, I mean, you guys, it's the building leaders who see the full continuum of issues and opportunities and across the school district. I mean, you see everything from dealing with individual children to policy questions. So you see the breadth of the district, and you are the ones that are critical to the success. And then I particularly, and I think I mean this on behalf of all the board, you guys, the students, have made this a very special Valentine's Day board meeting for us, because to hear from you guys is really what we do this for, and to do this and to present the way from the youngest to the more senior of you did it with such poise and confidence. It's better than I usually run these meetings, frankly. So you just did a terrific job. We've had marvelous presentations over the years, but I certainly don't think we've had a more personal one that more pictorially shows the complexity and yet the unity of the feeder system. So it's just really terrific. Very, very well done. So thank you all very much for being here. All right, and with that, anyone who wants to stay for the board reports is certainly welcome. Yeah.
I didn't even know until like a week ago, and I tried it out.
Diane, do you want to do your report next? Well, it's a somewhat smaller group now. Boy, what you talk about a school that's transformed in 15 years. Yeah. All right. Well, for those of you who are still here, thank you for hanging in there. And as long as we're doing reports, I thought maybe we would just ask Diane to go ahead and give the wellness, culture, and safety inventory report. We're all very, very interested in hearing that, Diane, and so thank you for being here to present.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I am happy to be here this evening and share some information regarding our wellness, culture, and safety inventory. I have with me some great colleagues who work with me to support not only the implementation of this inventory, but also what are we going to do with the information and the details that we have from it, so we can continue to support our schools. So first, I have Brian Krause. As you know, he's our Executive Director of Student Services. Many of the programs and the support structures that we put in place come from our Department of Students and Services. And so I wanted to have him share some of the information from his own perspective. And also I wanted to bring forward Patrick Mount. Patrick Mount is our Director of Information Technology. And what you may not know is that Patrick has been part of a team putting together this inventory since its conception. Patrick has been a member of an assessment team as well as in technology. And in fact, one of the reasons we tapped him was previous to this work, he had successfully completed a data fellowship with the Harvard Graduate School of Education. So his background is a statistics teacher, math teacher in high school, and helps us really take a look at the data in a meaningful way. And with that, just want to kind of go over a little bit about the background of the Wellness, Culture, and Safety Inventory. This is our third year of implementation. It is the second year of full implementation. 3 years ago, we piloted it with about half of our schools. And we really kind of moved in this direction because we wanted to have timely information that we could use in that year of obtaining it. So we've set aside October as the month to conduct the inventory, and we've been able to get the data back within 2 months, which is really exciting. Previous to that, we were using some other inventories from other organizations and statewide groups. The last time we used what is known as the Healthy Kids Colorado, it took about 2 years for us to get that data back. And so it's really been important for us to have our own inventory, one that is anonymous, not just confidential, and one where we can use the technology. Because all of our high school students have iPads, this inventory is about half as long in length as some of the statewide inventories. Our students can take it anywhere between 20 and 30 minutes, and they all have that opportunity on a voluntary basis to do so. So far we've gotten some pretty good feedback on the structure of the inventory and how we go about implementing it. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Patrick, who's going to give us a little bit of data on the demographics of the sample students who actually took the survey.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Lauer, and good evening, board. So this is, as Diane said, this is the third year we've given it, the second year of full implementation. We had over 5,900 students, high school students in grades 9 through 12 take the assessment. That's a 65% response rate. That provides us enough information to feel like this is a very strong comparability, over 95% confidentiality level with a margin of error of less than 1%. We also, in looking at the data, observed that we've got a very close correlation from a demographic breakdown perspective. So while we had 29% of our students in the district, grades 9 through 12, identified as Hispanic, we had about the same amount, 32%, self-identify as Hispanic on the assessment. And so we feel like there's a great deal of reliability in this assessment. I'll go over.
Was that also true with free and reduced lunch respondents?
So I haven't looked at that data, and then I can investigate those further questions if you wish. Thank you for asking. It is self-reported data on the assessment versus the data we have in October count is what's officially submitted by the parents. So some of the details as we dig into this on the next slide, from the health and wellness perspective, actually I'm going to pass this back to Diane so she can go over those details. Excuse me.
going to start off by going over some of the data, and because this is our second year of full administration, what we noticed overall is that the results are very similar to last year. You'll notice in this presentation, you'll see a little triangle that shows an uptick or a little bit of a downtick, but most of the places really were within 1 or 2 percentage points, and so that's not really substantial. The one area where we did see some substantial shift was in the area of our students self-reporting their physical activity. We saw an increase of about 5%, students who said that they were active for more than 60 minutes a day, 3 or more times a week. This could have been connected to the administration. A year ago we gave it in December, so we gave it in October this year, so we're going to take a look at it next year to see if that continues. But maybe a little bit easier to be outside when it's warmer. So who knows? We'll take a look at that. But overall, health and wellness wise, our students self-report that they're doing well and being physically active and having access to medical care and dentist and getting a good night's sleep. We're pretty excited to see that across the board. Another section that we look at is really our home and community, and this really resonates with us and what we hear from our families and our communities. Our kids feel safe. They feel safe in their communities in an overwhelming percentage. So that's really wonderful to see. If we take a look at our school culture, we also see that our students really value their education. We have 98% of our students feel like graduating from high school is important to them. That's outstanding. They have goals, they have plans, they really have lots of opportunities to be involved, and they like their school. And finally, they really believe that the adults in the school are show them a great deal of respect and care. And we saw that tonight with our presentation from Skyline.
The next slide addresses school safety in more detail. We're happy to report that 97% of the students feel they have not been threatened, harassed, or hurt by another student on school property. That's no change from the prior year. And we've got 95% of the students who are not involved in any physical fights. Again, a small 1% change from the prior year. As we dig into drugs, tobacco, and alcohol, if you look at the triangles that Diane mentioned earlier, you'll see very little change from the past. 97% of our students report that they have not driven a vehicle while under the influence of alcohol. Similarly, 94% have not done so under the influence of marijuana. 91% have never smoked a cigarette. And 87% have never used an e-cigarette or chewing tobacco. We're going to turn to Brian now, and he's going to talk about an area of focus with mental health.
Excuse me. So, could you tell us? You said there was a 1% confidence level at the beginning, and when the percentages change by, what kind of change would there have to be for you to identify that as a significant change from the prior year?
So a change of 1%, because that confidence level means that it's essentially the same information. We can't identify it as being an increase or a decrease when the change is 1% or less.
And a change of 2%?
Then we look at it in more detail, and that's some of the information we do consider is how are our plans, our implementations of interventions affecting the outcome of what students are reporting as far as safety and culture in their schools.
So you attach significance to a change of 2% then?
We look for the largest changes in particular to see how those interventions are playing out or where our greatest attention needs to be. We're going to be talking in more detail just a little bit later about some of those approaches we want to take to address the data.
Thanks.
I think one of the things that when we work and collaborate with Panorama, next year, our third year of administration of this tool, I think we're going to feel a little bit more confidence with the individual questions. And so this year they've kind of worked with us to not attribute too much reliability to the individual questions, but after 3 years of implementation of the same instrument, we should be able to provide some more statistical feedback with regards to those up and downs and what statistical relationship they show.
Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you, Diane. I appreciate, as we've talked in the past, we've talked a lot about mental health and student services approach to that, I believe last spring. And it's just, we've really focused on some areas around mental health, and we've seen some good results from this. We see around 33% find good ways to manage stress. And again, I think the push for, you heard from the students tonight, extracurricular activities, being involved in school has helped deal with some of that, and that's a pretty low number.
Brian,
go ahead.
Did you, I think you said...
Do not have healthy ways to manage stress.
Have good ways, but this says 33% do not have.
I'm sorry, 33 do not have healthy ways, so about 70, was that 67%? Do. And I think that's a pretty positive outcome. Also, one of the things that we've really stressed are early interventions and creating that trusted adult for kids to talk to at the school level. And we're seeing around 51%, so about 49 are not comfortable talking about their feelings. And then we're looking obviously at sadness and hopelessness, and that's an area that we need to continue to look at. And we're looking at some changes of programming around kids that have some severe mental health needs that we need to address. And then obviously the most concerning is the 15% have contemplated suicide at some point, according to their self-report. So some of our next steps, again, I talked a little bit about early intervention. We feel like that is key, providing some social emotional learning programs at the elementary level. We've talked about a little bit about sources of strength at the secondary level, where kids find community. They have peer support and peer-run programs to include kids in the schooling system at the secondary level. In addition to that, In Focus continues to be a big program for us because it teaches things like mindfulness, stress management, and also creates a trusted adult for kids to talk to if they're having problems. And so that's been an important part of it. And also, we've had the opportunity to gain the Counselor Corps grant, which allows us to create more counselors at the elementary and secondary level to help address mental health needs as we move forward.
Brian, could I ask a question
Absolutely.
Before you go further? The 15% that report have ideation of suicide or suicidal thoughts. I guess maybe two questions. One is there anything in the literature to suggest that's over the last 20, 30 years that's is it higher than it historically was? I mean, are we as school districts dealing, or are these students dealing with stresses that weren't there 20 years ago? I mean, do you have a feel for that?
I do, and I feel like there's more talk about it, and I think there's more openness to seek out help. Where it used to be swept under the rug, we don't talk about that sort of thing. And the implementation of a new suicide risk review, to where we're asking mental health professionals to fill out paperwork and say, what are you thinking about, and giving the kids and the families resources, I think it is key. And so I would say that there's probably more conversations happening, and it may seem like an inflated number, but there's less swept under the rug, and people are getting the help and the resources that they need. Because that's been
maybe
a big change.
more openness around it than there was.
Right. And we know that Colorado has typically been, as one of the states that has the highest rate of suicide. And so we're hopefully breaking down some of those walls, and kids are coming to trusted adults and saying, I'm feeling this way. can you help me?
Yeah.
And I think that's a good thing.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I mean, you hate to see these numbers go up, but if it simply means that people are being more open and that we're dealing with it in a more forthright way, then it's really a good thing.
And we haven't seen a whole lot of growth. Even the self-reported I think is the same. But it's still concerning because you lose one. And
any sense of how we would compare to other school districts? We don't really have an instrument for that.
I would say that we are doing very well compared to other school districts in my experience.
Yeah, John?
Yeah, thank you. So we have 33% that is saying that they don't have an outlet to deal with their stress factors, so that leaves 67% that do.
Yep.
Do you have a feeling as to whether that's extracurricular activities or if that's engagement with teachers, or how are they finding those avenues to deal with the stress?
I think you're exactly right. It's all of those things. It's being involved in the school community. It's having a trusted adult. It's feeling safe. It's all of these different pieces, because I think kids feeling safe and feeling connected and being able to deal with their stress means a community, adults, friends, peers, and it's a number of different factors. And so extracurriculars, we look at that as one piece of it, but I think a student can connect at any of our schools in a positive way, just by being there, being involved, and being part of the school culture. And that's what we need to continue to work on.
Have you seen any schools that were on a higher spectrum that are now dealing it maybe with student engagement or collaboration with peers, that where it's actually being effective? Is that something we can point to as a benefit to the students and their engagement with schools?
Yes, and I would point directly to Silver Creek High School with the implementation of the Sources of Strength program. By having a peer-led community group that works on school culture, and student-led is the key, I believe, because it's students making a difference and changing the culture of their school, making it okay to come to somebody and talk to somebody and to create inclusivity, I think is really the key. Mm-hmm. And I would point to them, and as we continue to look for other schools to add Sources of Strength to, I think we can use that as a model.
Are counselors an avenue that we're also pursuing in terms of adding more bandwidth to our counseling?
Absolutely. And again, I think the key is that early intervention. So if we can continue to put things in place at the elementary level, like especially around mindfulness and kindness. You heard tonight the Bionic program, which is Believe It or Not, I Care, which is funny, but it's a very strong program because it creates culture at the school level to where kids have people that care about them, and they're doing nice things. And if we can start at that level and continue up at the secondary level with programs that create a culture of caring, I think that's where we can get the most bang for our buck.
Right, and I think we've seen that all the programs that we offer are doing wonders for our students, but they also are providing some avenues of stress in terms of overachievers to those who may feel that they're being kind of held up to the mirror or
right
under the microphone. What am I saying? Microscope. Thank you very much. And so I know those pressures are ones that we didn't have to face quite as much in our lifetime, but with all the implementations of stress that are going on in this world, and we're seeing some of that unfolding in Florida as we speak today. And so it's very important that we get some avenues for our students to have an outlet to feel like they are being heard, and to also not only feel that they're being heard, but they are literally being heard and dealt with in an early intervention. I'd like to hear you say that, so thank you.
And I think really the key again is belonging. If kids feel like they belong, then it's a better atmosphere. And so I'd like to move on a little bit to talking about the custom data dashboard, and I just want to say that this particular, the data dashboard is unique to Colorado, and the work that Patrick and his team have done is exceptional, and it will allow us to have better information. So if you could talk a little bit about that.
Thank you, Brian. So in speaking with principals when I was first hired, I asked what would they like in terms of more data. And one principal in particular spoke about the need to be able to see in a quick visual where his students are at. In particular, are his high school students ready to graduate, his seniors ready to graduate? How about his freshmen? Are they on track to graduate? And so with our programming team, in particular Dr. Debbie Telfer, a data dashboard was created that allows our district leaders, these are principals and counselors, interventionists, to see in a dashboard format their students who may be at risk of some of these challenges we're talking about, based upon GPA, current grades, attendance, disciplinary issues, and other factors that are known to contribute. So we developed the dashboard with the goal of trying to support that. And what I want to emphasize about District Technology Services Partnership is, well, it's great joy to empower students with the technology devices and the speeds and the feeds that allow our wireless network to work well. We also see our opportunity and really our command to support the learning in the schools and the safety of students by providing meaningful data in an easy fashion for our leaders to have access to. So that's our data dashboard, and we're grateful to have a talented team that was able to develop that.
Thank you, Patrick. In addition, I talked a little bit about the suicide risk review. We did create a data portal for all that information, and we did revise the suicide risk review to allow anybody who, it doesn't have to be a mental health professional, but anybody to be able to fill out that suicide risk review and to get to that person, to the person they need to talk to get resources, to include the community, all those sort of things. And so that's been a big part of it. And then obviously we've been continuing to work with school counselors and mental health professionals, interventionists, providing them with the latest, and especially dealing with marginalized populations. How do we continue to work with them? And one of the things that I am very thankful for is Dawn made the decision to look at hiring an education equity and community engagement coordinator, which is not an easy title, but an important role, because Olga in that role can provide help to families and continue to look at how we engage our families in the schooling system. And so we're very excited about that position moving forward in student services.
So one of the areas we've discussed already is the area of student culture. And our data here show, is that the slide we have up? That 69% of our students do participate in school-related group activities. 63% feel that students treat one another with respect. 76% feel free to express who they are at school. 81% feel like they're part of the school, and 87% feel safe at school. It's the other side of that data that concern us. So we know that when students are engaged in their school, that their success rates both in school and in life are much higher. But when you look at the other side of this data, we see that roughly 30% of our students do not participate in a school-related activity. Roughly a third feel that students do not treat each other with respect in their school. Roughly a quarter feel like they're not safe to, it's not safe to express who they are at school. About a fifth feel that they're not part of the school, and roughly 1/10 or so do not feel that they're safe at school. And so this is a concern of ours. And we're taking measures to address this. Dr. Kapushin is leading an effort to help us track student engagement, not just in the sports that are easier to track, but also in clubs that students are involved in. So that's some of the work we're doing moving forward. As we take a look at this data that we have presented here in more detail for some of our disaggregated groups, we find that these areas are even greater concern for our LGBTQ students, as well as for our Hispanic students. And so those are areas of focus for us to continue trying to make progress upon.
And one of the reasons why those come forward is because when we look at those groups, at a disproportionate level, they're feeling that lack of safety and that lack of being able to express who they are. So when we take a look at our next steps, we've really worked hard, and again, our Deputy Superintendent Jackie has really steered us in a comprehensive way so that we are providing more training in an explicit fashion for gender equity and family diversity. This year we'll have over 300 staff participate in our gender equity and family diversity institutes. And to be able to have that on this scale, last year we started with our administrators and our school counselors. And so this is pretty exciting for us. We're also in the process of putting together a 2-day summer institute where we'll be bringing even more of our staff together for training and at a much more in-depth level. And we're just getting lots of requests for more and more training. So we really want to be able to support in that fashion. Additionally, when we take a look at the kinds of programs that we want to provide, taking a look at clubs, taking a look at activities, taking a look at students who are in AP classes and signing up for those advanced classes, we really want to dig in the data as well to see who is participating, who's not participating, how can we increase participation from all groups, but especially those who are not at a disproportionate rate. It's really critical for us to do that. Another area of focus for us, and we've kind of set as a goal, is to have a gay-straight alliance at all of our secondary schools. And I know when I came forward a year ago, we only had been at about half. And I think when we started this work, there were very few at the secondary level, and right now all but one of our secondary schools has one, and it's really important. And just to share a little bit of the literature, Vanderbilt University did a meta-analysis, and they found that LGBTQ students who attended schools where gay-straight alliances were present reported significantly fewer incidences of bullying based on sexual gender orientation and identification. And so it's really important for us to put these in place so that that presence permeates and it feels that sense of safety. I'm not alone. And so we've been really fortunate to have so many incredible partners. We've worked with our St. Vrain Valley Safe Schools Coalition is one of the organizations, out Boulder, Oasis. They provided some incredible training for our club leaders so that they feel confident and successful, and they have up-to-date resources. Another area, when we're especially working with our Latino population, we have put together a community focus group. Olga is one of the people who's been leading that, as well as Patrick Cullen, who is our coordinator of priority programs. Them working on this has really kind of provided an opportunity for communication about how we can improve the resiliency of members in our community. And so really developing those strengths between we've had long-standing relationships with, like Intercambio and PAI, the Padres y Educación groups that are providing some pretty incredible programming, not only for our families, but for our students as well. So we're going to continue to do that so that we can support all of our students, but especially those who we're seeing some gaps. You know, finally, there's some other additional steps here. We have worked with our deputy superintendent and our area assistant superintendents. They are taking the school level data, and they're working individually with each high school to kind of look at what are some areas of focus for them. That's really important. And then I'm so glad that Lena is here tonight, because one of the things that we'd really like to do is to have an opportunity to share this data with our student advisory groups. Anytime we have a student perception inventory, I mean, this is one snapshot. We have many other data tools, just like Patrick was mentioning. We have student information coming in from referrals and behavior and attendance, and we really want a comprehensive snapshot. But it's important to get some feedback from our students as well. I'd love to present this data and kind of bounce off some of those ideas on here's the kind of programs we're putting in place to hopefully raise that level of wellness and belonging across our district. So hopefully we'll have a chance to connect. And then finally, I mentioned earlier our ongoing collaboration with Panorama, and one of the things that we've looked at is there are certain questions that may be a little bit ambiguous or unclear. When we look at the rate, we had about 6,500 total student responses, but when you look at the individual question level, there are some that drop to about 4,000 respondents. And that's a good indication that, and they're typically ones like, if you said yes previously, if no, then, move forward. And we're noticing over the last 2 years that we have a number of students that are skipping that question. So if we don't take a look at that, we can continue to have an instrument that we're not getting the fullest data scope that we can. So we're going to be working with Panorama to take a look at that. I have had a great opportunity to talk to a number of our parents. Our survey is online. Anyone can go and look at it. And I've really been pleased with, I've worked with about 5 different families who just kind of wanted to talk about it and share their insights about some of the questions, and they've provided some great feedback, whether tools that we can use to provide better communication. So that's really our next steps. I think kind of just to wrap up, we've seen some indication of the things that we see today. Students who are well acclimated, strong, they see that pathway, they're connected to their future, and that's incredible. But there's absolutely opportunities for us to continue to work and to make sure that we have that sense of belonging and safety for all of our student populations. And that's where we want to be able to do. Thank you.
Yeah. No, that's a great report. Dick, you had a question?
Yes, I actually had a couple of follow-up questions. And I guess it was either Brian or Diane. But when you talk about the district-wide results, did you disaggregate them by school?
We have the schools will be able to take a look at their own data, yes.
Have you done so?
Yes.
And are there any statistically significant variations among the individual school responses compared with the district response?
So we have not taken a look at that type of analysis yet, and we could, but one of the things that, we have not done that. And I think that where we would like to go is to move into that direction into our 3rd year. I think that we just have not done that this year, but we would like to do some more statistical analysis in the 3rd year of this implementation, because we would like to do a question reliability study. We haven't been able to do that.
Thank you. I have a follow-up. Brian, when you you identified the I think it was the In Focus program.
Yes.
At Silver Creek.
No, I'm sorry. Source of Strength at Silver Creek.
Source of Strength at Silver Creek.
Okay.
As a positive step in the direction that you felt would increase the number of students who had someone they could go and talk to.
Yes.
Did you see, I get in a way, I guess Diane's response says that you did not see anything different at Silver Creek compared with on that question, compared with the district results.
And I think it's a little bit early to know that yet with first-year implementation of Sources of Strength this year. It would be interesting if we disaggregated out some of those questions after a year of implementation of Sources of Strength. But we just don't have that information yet.
It seems that there's a wealth of, potentially a wealth of data to look within our own system and identify those approaches, school culture, participation, school safety, and those characteristics that may, in some, result in some schools doing much better on that survey, or some portions, subpopulations, demographics within a school doing much better than we see in the district-wide results, and then giving us, informing us about what kinds of programs we might reasonably expect could lead to longer-term solutions.
Absolutely.
And so I guess what I'm hearing is we're just not quite there yet.
Right. And I think over time, as we continue to delve into some of that data, we can get a better picture, not only at the district level, but at the school level, community level, that sort of thing. But again, I think that inclusivity and a sense of belonging for kids is a good place to start, and that we know that if kids are engaged and they have a trusted adult, that they're more likely to be successful and feel safe at school. And really our numbers are district-wide are very good, but I agree, I think we could spend a little more time in the data this following year and get some better pictures of the success or not of programs.
Yeah, sometimes intuition is solutions are counterintuitive.
Right.
If I could add.
Yep.
So when we implement research-based programs, we know that there's research behind them, but we need a few years to be able to do our own rigorous program evaluation to see if there is an effect. So Sources of Strength does have research behind it. We are pretty excited that one of our elementary schools participated in a study to find an effect size on In Focus. In Focus, which is the social emotional program, we're now using it 24 of our schools. That organization contracted with the University of Chicago, and Tori Teague and I just found out last week that our data did show that use of cell did have an effect. So we're just starting to take a look at that data. There was our school and another elementary school as part of the Chicago Public Schools that were part of that study. So it's absolutely something that we want to do, but we want to position ourselves in a place where we can do the rigorous program evaluation, and it is going to take a little bit of time so that we have data, so we can triangulate that with the research that we know about the program. But are we getting the same results in our own setting? That's really important.
And I guess just finally, when it comes to next year and we have the results reported back to us, I would deeply appreciate seeing those results ahead of time so that we could ask more informed, so I could ask more informed questions.
That'd be great. Thank you.
I want to make sure Lena has an opportunity. Do you have any questions or comments?
I have, did I do it right? Is it okay?
Yeah, please.
I have two comments. My first one was, I think you're talking about the disconnect between students who are involved in extracurriculars and within their school as a general, and students who are not, and you're seeing a disconnect in the data. And I think that solely comes from there aren't programs at schools that are geared towards those students specifically. We have clubs like GSA, and that's geared towards those students only. So missing the group of kids that are working to help pay for things at their house. You're missing the ones who cannot afford to be in extracurriculars, and the ones who do not have the time, whether it's work or they're all in AP or whatever it may be. So I think that's a big dynamic that you're missing. And my other one was, earlier you talked about how extracurriculars can help reduce stress. I also believe that they can increase stress, because when you participate in, like, for example, myself, I'm in at least 6 extracurriculars at one given time. It can get upwards to 9 or 15. So sometimes I'm at school from 7 a.m. until 10:30 at night, depending on the day. And in those cases, stress is increased, and there aren't programs to help reduce that stress for that type of student. I do know, however, some of our sports programs at Skyline partner with our academic center. So they'll take the first 45 minutes of their practice. Every single person is required to be at the academic center for those 45 minutes. And I know that that is a solution to reducing some of that stress caused by extracurriculars.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
That's great feedback. Thank you very much. Karen had a question.
Yes, the targeted interventions are impressive, so thanks for that. They seem very directed. I wanted to know, were there any adolescents involved in the planning of the assessment or the development of the items?
Yes.
Okay.
Great question. Originally, there were.
And comment sections so that you can review the qualitative data of the assessment?
There are no open-ended questions, and we do not ask for any of that, but appreciate that question. Yep.
Okay. Paula?
So I just had a couple of things, but I'll piggyback on what Lena said, because I had a very similar comment about kids that work.
Yeah.
Some because they have to, some because they choose to. And that in and of itself creates a level of community working with other kids from all around the district. So do we have a question around that on the survey? If kids work, and if so, why?
I don't believe that we do.
That, I mean,
yeah,
just might be
absolutely.
Yeah. So it's like another component to that piece.
Thank you.
And then I also wanted to share that Joey and I think Amory might have been with us at the Day of Excellence when we went to this segment.
Now we're in trouble.
Yeah. No, we actually paid attention because I remember.
I paid attention.
Yeah. So we went to the counseling segment, and they talked about sources of strength and in focus. And I believe this guy, the Creek counselor, was there and was talking about sources of strength. And both of them seemed like really strong, really incredible programs. And I believe that they said at that segment that at this point they were voluntary in the schools, but how voluntary are they? Like, are we really trying to push? I know we have to comply with principals and their staff and their willingness to implement them in their schools, but is this something we're really pushing for, particularly now that we're getting more evidence out of Creek and some of the elementaries as to how effective they are?
Well, just to start with the In Focus. So 2 years ago, Regina Rinaldi worked and really wanted to ensure that we had a social emotional program in all of our K-8 settings. So we took a look. We were able to take some site visits to see In Focus in action. And so what we said was we want all of our students to have access to it. We're going to give our schools a choice as to what program they choose. Most of them have selected In Focus, and so that is a K-8 program. We have it at elementary and middle schools, and so it's voluntary as to what program you select, but we do want all of our schools to have a social emotional program, and so we just feel that is critical. When we take a look at sources of strength, that is voluntary, and I think that we want our high schools to also have access to it. Not only that program, but other programs that they're able to access. Some of our schools have chosen Rachel's Challenge. Some of them have looked at other programs to bring in mindfulness or other types of strategies that they can put into the classroom. Another exciting change that I've seen over the years is more and more of our high schools are adding an advisory component, and I think that advisory component really provides a strong setting to have that adult connection in the room so that students can have opportunities to talk about what's going on in their future, their career pathways, but also things that may be creating barriers for their learning, whether it is peer-related or it is tied to things that are happening that they can talk about. So I don't know, Brian, if you wanted to share anything, but Sources of Strength is voluntary at this time.
I had one more comment. Sure. Thank you so much for the report. Very comprehensive, fantastic report. And once again, I'm just struck by the systems approach to this, because I know for several years since I've been on the board, we talked about counseling. We've talked about the need for more. We put more counselors in Silver Creek and in Erie. We've talked about how full the plates are of the counselors, but this is such a systems approach to supporting them. Instead of just kind of putting more people in the building, we're laying the foundation for all of it. We're laying all the framework for the whole thing. And of course, if we can put more people out there, we will. But the systems approach is just fantastic to me. So I'm very, very impressed by that. And then as far as the data that I saw tonight, the one that always sticks out to me for students, particularly high school students, is the stress component. I sort of see that one as the core of it, because there's stress. We are pushing these kids are pushing themselves, they're challenging themselves to do their best and take the most rigorous classes they can, and it lays on a lot of stress on these kids. And I think if that can't be managed, it becomes internal, and these kids shut down, and we're never going to get them to join a club or reach out to an adult, or it's going to be much harder for adults to reach them. So, and I do think we've done a good job of finding as many avenues as possible to reach these kids early, before the stress gets overwhelming. I know there's instances of they bring all the GT kids in for lunch, and they talk to them about their time management, and they talk to them about their study habits. Things like that, where you kind of do that small group of that individual outreach, as well as having the system stuff in place, like all the clubs available. I really think the micro to the macro approaches to it is really critical, but that's kind of what I see as like the real nugget of the whole thing is. But stress it's part of life. It's never going to go away. Like so yes, they need to be able to manage it now to cope later. So everything everything I see is kind of pointing in that direction. So I'm just really, really pleased with this, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I know that is one of the indicators that really hits me when I take a look at it, that I definitely would like to see more students with healthy ways of managing stress. Having those strategies is a lifelong skill, and I can say that through our In Focus program, we've heard from many parents who are seeing the use of those calming strategies being used in their homes. And so that's really exciting to see that that's not only making a difference for our kids in our schools, but that our families are seeing that as well. And so I think that if we're starting at a young age, we're doing social emotional programming with our preschoolers as well. And so it's just really carrying forward, and it's going to take them throughout their career here and beyond.
That's fantastic.
Thank you.
No, we've seen some of that, and I think that's some of the most encouraging stuff. Other questions, comments? Otherwise,
yeah, just a quick comment. Diane, thanks for the great report. I appreciate it. The question about when do we see 2% or 1% as significant? I can only speak for myself. I don't necessarily look to see if it went up by 1% or down by 1% or anything. What I'm looking for more is patterns and themes that emerge that catch my eye, and that intuitive sense that when you say 37% of our kids don't feel like they have an avenue to go and get some guidance or talk to. If it were 36%, I wouldn't say, okay, well, it's okay. But 37% is not okay. For me, it's like 35% is a large number to me of kids that don't have an avenue to. And so that's kind of, I look at it more in chunks. And it was a good question, because it really does get to how are we using this data and when are we acting on the data? You know what I mean? The other thing that I pay attention to is what's going on. And, there's a lot of stress around DACA right now. There's also a lot
I was going to ask Don, how many of our students do we estimate might be Dreamers? Do we have an idea?
We don't, because we don't track that information. But we had a meeting yesterday with our leadership and some community leaders and Olga, and there's some informal knowledge of that, but nothing that
3 or 4 or 5%.
It's just we just don't know. And last year we did have we talked about that change in our enrollment to where we saw a number of students that moved out of the state and the country, which was unusual, and that's why we only grew by 250 instead of 600, because of that abnormal fluctuation. But there's also a lot of stress coming out of some of the rhetoric that you hear at the federal level. I most recently read or saw yesterday that the United States Department of Education wasn't going to accept complaints about the use of restrooms for a transgender student. And so I know that I don't know, but I would assume that would create some sense of why not, and how does that impact our children that might be stressed about something, and so all of these outside factors that are, that are hitting our kids, and we have to pay attention to that too. But when I look at the whole thing, what I came away with is the challenges around suicide, not having someone to communicate with, the stress issues, all of that speaks to me that if we can add more adult support in the buildings to reach out, whether it's more counseling staff. We're unique in the sense that we have counselors, we have interventionists, we have counselors at the elementary school. That's unique to this district, and so are the interventionists for the most part. I think Boulder Valley does and St. Vrain, but most school districts don't have that extra layer. And Lena, I think your points were really well taken. Sorry, I didn't mean to wait for you to get a drink of water, but the stress is a really tough nut to crack, because on one hand, you want kids to really recognize that they're resilient and they have a lot more in them than sometimes they realize. And sometimes it's only when you push yourself past that comfort zone do you begin to learn your full potential. And then you also recognize that there has to be support to back that up and to help the kids as they're pushing really, really hard. So, there's just a lot to digest with this whole thing. I also remember seeing at the Day of Excellence, the panel of students consistently were saying, they could use more guidance earlier on with some of the tough decisions that they have to make around next steps. So we're looking to add some additional resources, and I shared that with you guys.
Yeah, I appreciate that you brought that up, because I wanted to share that with the rest of the board.
I also, we were meeting often, and we had another meeting today with some of the leadership. I had an opportunity to meet today with Stan Garnett and his team, and then folks from Longmont Police Department, and we've been having meetings with all of the police departments in our district and trying to figure out ways to strengthen support for our children. And, talking to Stacy today a little bit about, how are we going to staff the new schools with campus supervisors and things along those lines. And so it's just an ongoing discussion, but that's what I think jumped out at me through all of it. As I cut through all of the data and the thing, what really jumped out at me is we just have a lot of children that are struggling with either mental illness issues, stress issues, anxiety issues, fear issues around what's going on, and we just have to be aware of that and try to address it as best we can. And I see Marty out there as a great partner, and thank you very much for all the support that you're giving us and helping guide us. When I see those numbers of our teachers that are getting support, that's a far cry from where we used to be. We're better today than we were yesterday. Yeah. And I just think the more we can help our teachers and equip them and our staff. But this is something we take really, really serious, because I think, Brian, you said it very well. And, one child is too many to experience the kind of distress that some of them are reporting to us. So anyways, thank you, Diane, again.
Thank you.
John?
Yeah, thank you very much. I'll make a quick comment. I really heartened to hear the conversation be about stresses to all the students, because stress is not a linear thing. We can't just say it's our high achievers which are under the most pressure. There's bellwethers for every student along the way, and the DACA, the dreamers, the LGBTs, the students who are just struggling to get through algebra. Mm-hmm. And I think we need to remind our parents, our teachers, to celebrate all those achievements. I mean, that really makes a difference in the lives of all of our students, and so they don't feel like they're being held up to a standard that is maybe not achievable, but they have their own standards which is achievable. And so celebrating each avenue. I enjoyed hearing from Lana tonight. I think you were right on with, we have a group of students that have to work or can't afford it or have home responsibilities. I enjoyed hearing your comment about the athletics and getting in there, and I don't know whether it's just athletics in terms of they have a study or whether they actually have a teacher assistant or a teacher that's in there that's maybe helping them achieve some things, because I know athletics is a huge time-consuming and something that these students love to do, but we don't want to forget why they're in school, and that's obviously for an education. So I just wanted to remind our teachers and our parents to really celebrate the achievements of all of our students all along the way, because it's a nonlinear approach that we need to really be focused on, and not just the high achievers.
All right, thank you. One quick indicator, I think, of how we do relative to other districts and the success of some of the things we put in place is Don was telling us earlier about some of the expulsion rates of surrounding districts. And I think that the fact that we have a very, very low and sometimes no expulsions in a given semester speaks to the idea that we're dealing with many of these student stresses and behaviors in a prophylactic and interventional way. And I think that it's a good indicator for how we're doing. But Don is going to be looking at the counseling program, adding some staff and doing some restructuring of tasks so that some folks might focus more specifically on just the pure academic and career development stuff, and others might then focus more on other social emotional issues. But I think the discussion, obviously the deep consideration and thought that staff give to this suggests that this district is truly committed to every student that is part of our district and their well-being and safety. All right. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate that. Good discussion. And we'll move along. And Don, if you want, we'll go on with the superintendent's report.
Okay, that's great. Okay. Couple things. We're going to be hiring for the administrative openings that we have remaining, and that will be Lyons Middle Senior and then also Sunset Middle School. Then that should happen next week, and then following that, a couple weeks later, we will hire an executive director of human resources to move into the position that Damon Brown is leaving to become the assistant superintendent. Couple of highlights: the Longmont High School girls swim team. They won the state championship, so that was exciting. And then this Thursday we've got a wrestling tournament. I think we've got between 40 and 50, I'm not sure the exact number, of wrestlers that have qualified. And then the basketball teams are gearing up. And so it's been a really strong winter, follow up a strong fall, so that was good. I learned Silver Creek's debate team had 3 teams score outstanding and are headed off to the state competition, so that was exciting. And because I don't mention another school, it doesn't mean that the other schools aren't sending teams to the state. It's just highlighting a few here and there. The Erie School District, interestingly enough, they had a system-wide choir concert the other night. And I think, John, you were there?
I was there.
Yeah, and the cars were backed up.
It was packed.
Packed.
Standing room only.
I think the whole community was probably there.
Board away from me.
On the outside. Well, and I'm going to just probably take one more, but it's also going to be a compliment because the Beck's Robotics tournaments, we had several of them, as we always do. John was yeah, John did a great job of announcing. They had 3 or 4 different locations. I was in one, and I heard his voice. And he was actually the MC and did a really good job.
I heard that from several people.
Yeah, it was nice.
Don was going to steal the mic from me, but I wish, it
was good.
No, well done. No, I heard from several unnamed sources that you did a great job.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, it was really exciting. Went to the Colorado Succeeds luncheon, and Patty was there, and Hillary Sontag, our new person, and one of the things that was exciting, a lot of business people there, and Skyline was highlighted, and they had a picture of Patty on the overhead screen as highlighted with a quote about, an extraordinary or an ordinary child given an extraordinary opportunity. And then they highlighted, and I think I sent you the video of the highlighted students at the Innovation Center. And so that was a very proud moment to see that, and excited about our partnership with Colorado Succeeds. Also attended the American Heart Association Symposium this morning. It was a full house and really, really powerful. A lot of talk about the difference in well-being when you have a positive outlook versus something that's less than positive. And not only your outlook, but also how you talk about things and how you message things. And it reminded me of the conversation we're having a little bit around public education, because they actually began to show the brain's reaction when you hear something negative, and how you have your first initial reaction is to avoid that conversation. And they really talked about the power in communicating positively and not from a place of deficit or negatively. And it's not to say that you sugarcoat everything, but it is to say that you have to really be aware of the way in which you're communicating and how you garner support. So that was an enjoyable time. I'm going to be going to Colorado School of Mines, meeting with their leadership here soon, I think Friday. And it's just part of a lot of outreach that we're doing with different colleges, universities, and people. We are getting ready to start the not getting ready. We've had 2 negotiation sessions, and I've been meeting regularly with Steve Villarreal, and Ella Padilla has been leading the negotiations process. And as you know, we're not talking about dollars and cents this year because it was a 2-year agreement there. But that seems to be going well. Brian solidified the annexation for the Innovation Center land. So that's done, and we're good to go. And now we're just trying to finalize things with the Montessori property that's right next door to it. And then, Jackie, if you want to share a little bit about that grant that we discussed that'll help with the 0 to 3 initiative. We're kind of on a fast track with a lot of grant activity, that we have more capacity with Hillary now, and so we're going to be pushing a lot of grants forward. So.
Yeah, so this one's exciting. Diane Lauer and Hillary Sontag, who's our new Grants and Partnership Director, are working on a project. They're pursuing an opportunity with the Gary Community Investment Foundation, along with Open IDEO, in partnership with Open IDEO. And those 2 foundations together really work to support children in the age of 0 to 3 in terms of their development. And so we are pursuing this grant specifically to support solutions that address urgent challenges influencing the first 3 years of life. These ideas should support children at their earliest ages and will involve the influencing of parents, families, teachers, and providers in communities and systems. And what we're going to ask for is anywhere between $100,000 and $500,000. Most likely they're going to give 2, 3, 4 grants. They have up to $500,000 to provide for this work, and we are going to ask for them to help support a mobile learning lab that we can get out into our communities and further the work of the Lena START project that's being done with the Our Center. And that would work with getting our mobile lab into communities and to work with parents to do language development, which really supports brain development at that age. So in addition to augmented reality and virtual reality and our STEM work and our iPads that could be done in this mobile lab, we would really target that 0 to 3 age group. So instead of always having to have those families come to us or go to another location, we would go to them. And it would be a way for us to connect with the families really early on in our community.
No, that's terrific. Yeah. That's great.
Any questions related to that?
Jackie, thanks. Appreciate
You're welcome.
it. Yeah. All right. So board report. Anything else, Don? That's it? All right. Very good. Karen, we'll just go around the table.
Okay, I'll keep it quick.
Okay.
I had the great honor of presenting the St. Vrain Sportsmanship Award to 2 Niwot High School basketball players, so it was really great. It was just so meaningful. And also just tonight's presentations were such a wonderful demonstration of the effect of holding our students to such high standards and achievement and emphasizing high value of moral distinction, and just how our entire system is set up toward all of our students. So it's just still a great new experience for me, and thank you.
Hi. Yes, thank you very much. I do think that today was a great reflection on just the depth that this district goes to. And it started off with the new hires. It's really incredible to see our new hires coming from within. I think that speaks volumes. It says that, we're doing the professional development and we're really holding ourselves up to a collaborative status that really makes our administrators and our teachers want to reach for higher achievements, and they are, and that's just heartening, and I congratulate all our new hires. And we had one hire outside, and I know we're disappointing a lot of districts around the state by stealing the best of the best, but that's great for us, and I appreciate hearing those. Don did steal my thunder in a couple of the reports that I was going to have. We did have a day of excellence, and I think that's something that we all shared in and really learned a lot from, and I know that's going to grow in the years to come. But the choir, I'll start off with that. It was a Erie Feeder choir that came together, and all the students of all the schools participated with their choir programs, and it was fascinating because they started off right out of the gate, everybody singing, and so all the choirs came together to sing the same song, and it was just, people were in awe. And then each feeder system, each school got up and sang their own particular songs, then they ended by all coming together again. And it was standing room only. It was packed. They had to move it to the gym because there were so many people that they knew that were going to show up, and they did. And so that community support, that engagement that we're getting really does stand for a community being proud of not only their sports, but obviously the choir programs that come together, and there's so many others that really just exemplifies how well the community backs their school systems, and it's really great to see that our public schools are achieving such high standards and getting such supports from everyone. And that rolls right into the robotics. The robotic program was this weekend, and we have I believe there's 133 teams in VEX Robotics in 33 schools throughout the district, and there's over 600 students who participate in that. And you have to remember that these programs are after school. These are on weekends. This day started at 8:30 in the morning, a little bit earlier for the competitors. They got there around 7:30 of 8. Supposed to be over at 3:30. I didn't get home until just before 5. It was fascinating to see. I had worked and done some emceeing for the VEX Robotics. This was the IQ. It was a little bit different, so I got to learn a new sort of robotic challenge that they came together. And in the VEX Robotics, there are 2 teams. In this IQ, there were 4 teams. And the collaboration that has to come together for these schools who haven't worked together before, but the challenge is that they compete to fulfill first one program where it's automated, and they have to program the robot to do something and collect as many points as they can, and then their driver assisted programs. But they challenge themselves to get as many points, and it is a combination of the amount of points that they get as a team. So 2 different schools are working together, and then they also have individual points that they get. So the students cheer for one another. They talk afterwards to see how the robots did. The robots have to pass a certain standard in terms of their width and their height, and they can only use so many motors. But it's fascinating to hear them talk about how their robots maybe were able to lift something higher, or to turn faster, or to push things faster. But it is collaborative, and that's the thing I want to communicate, that these students are working together, even though they're competing at a level, which many of us, don't get that opportunity to have that dichotomy of challenging and competing and also working together in a holistic approach. So, again, the program is run by parents. It's run and supported by some companies and corporations, and it is incredible the support that our schools do get from the community, and that's the biggest, the best change and the biggest change that I've seen with all of our schools is that we're bringing in all these companies to work with our schools, and I think we now have over 60 corporations that are working with our St. Vrain district, and that's great to see. So I applaud all of the efforts of our not only our teachers, but our community members that get together and really pursue excellence in education with our students. And I'll stop there.
Yeah, these aren't just school events, they're community events.
Yeah.
Joey.
Thanks, Bob. Tonight I want to recognize Longmont Estates Elementary School. I had an opportunity to attend their innovation fair, and it was wonderful. The students are so imaginative, and I was really able to see the value of the design thinking process. And really at the end of that morning, and this is a common theme, I think, anytime any of us go into schools probably, but at the end of that morning, I couldn't help but feel hope for the future and excitement over just every year seeing what St. Vrain Valley students do and how they'll be able to contribute not only to our schools and our community, but to our state and our nation as well. And then Patrick, just wanted to thank you and Joe for Karen and I were able to tour DTS. Thank you very much. It was time well spent. I appreciate all of the work that you guys do over there. Thank you.
Very good. Paula.
Me? Like Karen, I had the opportunity to grant my sportsmanship awards to students, and I always go to a game with Meade and Skyline, so I can do both teams, boys and girls. So it's a full night, and I have to switch sides. Like I have to sit on one side of the gym, and then I have to sit on the other side of the gym. But it's always fun, and I get very nervous doing it, like picking the right student, and then having to give them a award. And it's just so funny when you're standing there talking to these students, because as you're watching them play, they're all out there, they're working really hard, they're young adults, but they're also like tall, especially the boys, like they're so tall. When they're standing around you get down there, you're like, oh my God. Like it's amazing. They're just so respectful, and they're just such great kids, all of them. And it's really an honor to be able to be a part of that. And then also I wanted to just do a quick thank you to the teachers, because I know that it's teacher conference time, and I know the schools do it at different times, but several of the high schools are heading into that now, so I wanted to thank all the teachers for the time and effort and administrators that they put into that, as well as the parents who attend and support it and provide meals for the teachers and the whole system around that. And then also, excuse me, we had student advisory this morning, which I always love. And again, it was a great meeting, and I think some really relevant topics were discussed. And do you want to give a quick overview of what was on the agenda this morning? Or I can do it.
Okay, so today at Student Advisory Council, we were at Skyline, which was nice. And we had several different presenters, and we were presented to from communications, I believe, and we talked about different the website that the district uses and how to effectively get different communications to the students. And so I saw a lot of really neat ideas and valuable viewpoints come from that. We also talked about transcripts and how our test scores were reported on those, which was interesting. I never knew that there was thought that went into it. I was just like, oh, my transcript has my SAT on it. Great. Like, that's perfect. But, like, there's actually a really valuable reason for why that's there. We talked about what else?
Mrs. Quinones came and talked about an opportunity for leadership.
And we talked about leadership opportunity that's going on for juniors right now, where they're going to work on like a year-long project type thing, and they're gonna end up going to California and like competing and presenting it. Sounds very unique and cool, and I wish I could do it, but I'm a senior, so that can't happen. And then we had our singing Valentine's sing to our student advisory council, so that was fun. Oh, and no, I don't sing. I was sung too, so.
You're gonna have to do the harmony.
And then we had 2 different students report. I reported out about a project that's going on. It's slowly blossoming into a district-wide project. It's often referred to as Cinderella's Closet. And so 2 Silver Creek juniors are heading it up. Skyline Student Council is going to. Now we're tag teaming it with them. And so basically it's a prom dress drive. So used prom dresses will be donated. And we would like to expand it to suits and other things that are accustomed to the tradition of prom. And so people who can't afford to buy those things can come in and pick their dresses or suits for whatever they need for free, and then they can go to prom. So, and the other report was on a theater program that they'd like to do. It's an
the honors program.
Honor theater program, kind of like an honor district choir, and sound very unique and up several particular students' alleys. That's what we talked about.
There was beatboxing involved.
What's that?
There was beatboxing involved with the singing Valentine Graham. It was amazing.
Really?
I didn't beatbox. One of the students who was here did. It was amazing.
But we couldn't ask you to do that?
No.
Okay.
I decline.
Just checking. Dick?
Thank you, Bob. I have 4 items that I'd like to report on. Teacher excellence, leadership excellence, partnerships, and alternative education. So with regard to teacher excellence, I had the privilege of visiting a number of schools, and as each of us have. Most recently, I spent the morning at Thunder Valley K-8 with Principal Karen Music, and a couple of times I met with Principal Eric Finstead at Silver Creek High School. We spent a lot of time visiting schools themselves, and I'm visiting classrooms. It was wonderful to see the level of engagement of our students with and without technology. The students where they were using technology, every student, and Patrick, I want to give a shout out, at Silver Creek had the appropriate laptop or Chromebook. They were charged up, they were engaged, and that was one of the things I had asked the principal about. And that experience is not necessarily even across the district, but it certainly is in place at both Thunder Valley and Silver Creek High School. And I was just reminded that we at St. Vrain are just richly blessed with the quality and dedication of our teachers, who are so committed to ensuring that every student has an opportunity to reach their highest potential. And it was inspirational, just as the presentation from the Skyline Feeder this evening was. With regard to leadership excellence, I wanted to give a more extended shout out to the staff, to Don and his senior staff. That was an extraordinarily successful event, I think, for the first year. It connected with the communities in ways that we have not done before. It was a tremendous turnout from your whole staff throughout the day. By my account, it was certainly extraordinarily well organized. Key district staff giving, and by my count, about 26 separate workshops delving into the details, not only sharing but listening, and to parent comments. We had a great, I thought, board session of listening to the public. I emerged with just a tremendous appreciation for the dedication and extraordinary quality of the staff that we have working for us here at St. Vrain, and the level of support that we've been able to, over the years, gather from our community and the wonderful ideas they have for things that we can work together and do better.
Thank you for that. And also, Carrie, thank you for spearheading that. You did a great job.
It was extraordinary, Carrie. Just extraordinary. And really, shout out to all of our staff. You had your whole senior staff, a number of teachers, but mostly your senior district staff were leading those workshops that were tremendously informative. I think everybody here was there, even finance, I think.
My classroom packed with 5 people.
But you were there, and you did, and delivering a first-rate program. With regard to partnerships, I wanted to share that, as I reported before, I was elected to the Colorado Association of School Boards. We had our first 3-day school board meeting in west of Colorado Springs, and during that meeting, I was elected to the executive committee of that board. It's my hope in this role to be able to build a strong foundation based upon the foundation that Debbie Lammers, our own Debbie Lammers, established as a highly regarded and effective CASB board member. I hope to be able to participate with them and be a force to help strengthen CASB's role as an influential and effective voice for public education, excellence in public education here in Colorado. And finally, I had the good fortune to be able to spend, with regard to alternative education schools, I spent a couple of hours with Heidi Weekly at Main Street School, and I learned more in that time about what was actually happening at that school than I think I've known in the 15 years I've been part of the district. It's really a school that is designed to capture and support the needs of students who fall outside our other programs. Those with special needs or special circumstances. That program is really an umbrella program that includes something called the Main Street School for our more traditional special needs students, life skills, alternative cooperative education. They call it LSACE, but I thought if I said LSACE, no one would know what I was talking about. Another program, one in conjunction with CR Schools for our students with autism and severe learning disabilities, and then a teacher in digital learning academy. All of that is housed at Main Street School. And just tremendous work occurring. We visited, I think, every classroom and auditorium and the gym. And I asked Heidi Weekly, who oversees, there are between 100 and 150 students in that program, K-12. I asked her how she measures her success. And she thought for a bit, and she said, she measures her success by how many students are able to successfully transition to their home schools and take part in the broader range of academic and co-curricular opportunities that are available for them there. We will hear more about the capital needs of the Main Street School on our agenda that I look forward to from Brian. But I want to express my heartfelt appreciation to Heidi and her tremendously dedicated staff and teachers for the amazing work they're doing with this student population to help ensure that each student develops to their highest potential.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very good. And and by the way, Dick, thank you very much for being on that CASB Executive Committee. That's an extra amount of commitment and time, but I think it's a great investment on behalf of our district that you're making. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
John?
Yeah, I'm remiss in something, and I appreciate that Main Street comment. I'm kind of fascinated at her response because I've actually been doing the graduations the last couple of years, and I talk with the students. And their matrix of success, I would say, is the fact when they can navigate bus routes, they can take on a job, they have a responsibility and real engagement with the community. They walk out of there with skills to get them into the community and be productive. But I got an email this morning from Matt Buckler at the Erie High School, and he shared with me that there was a student there, Christian Palumbo, and he scored a perfect score on the College Board AP Research exam. That exam I didn't know much about, but the data is a little bit skewed in terms of they had 216 was the numbers that he gave me. He said there were 2.6 million people in the United States that took that exam, 4.7 million in the world that took the exam. 176 students scored perfect. He was one of them. So I just wanted to recognize that as quite an outstanding achievement.
All right, thank you, John. Very briefly, I wanted to commend Greg and Tony and really all the financial staff, both on the thoughtfulness and the systems approach to multi-year forecasting that we looked at the study session. That's work well done. It gives us great confidence, as it should the broader community. I make an observation when you go to our PTO meetings, parents aren't there to complain or whatever. They're there to support the school. There's just such a strong sense of community. And when you meet with our principals or have lunch or coffee, as I've done, you have to be impressed with the caliber of these folks. I mean, they're just such high quality folks. Really, as to use the term Paula mentioned, looking at everything from the micro to the macro issues. I mean, they're terrific people, and I appreciate that. Joey and I took an opportunity to have coffee and welcome on behalf of the board Josh Atherton. We're very positive about the future of the foundation, and again, I thought that Day of Excellence was really excellent. So that's it for me. All right. Well, with that, we'll move on then to consent items. We have several. 7.1, approval of terminations and leaves. 7.2, staff appointments. 7.3, approval of minutes for the January 10, 2018 regular meeting, the January 17 study session, and the January 24 regular meeting. 7.4, approval of purchase of network switches, access points, controller licenses, and phones. 7.5, approval of selection and contract award, construction manager, general contractor for the district-wide track resurfacing project. 7.6, approval to accept the best grant funds for the Main Street renovation. Main Street School renovation. 7.7, approval of recommendation to hire an assistant superintendent of human resources. 7.8, approval of recommendation to hire the area assistant superintendent. And 7.9, approval of recommendation to hire an executive director for student support services. Did any board members wish to pull any of those items?
Could we pull 7.6
sure.
for further discussion?
We can. Anything else? All right, with that, I will take a motion to approve 7.1 through 7.9 with the exception of 7.6.
So moved.
By Joey.
Second.
By John. And Barb, would you call for the vote?
Mr. Ahrens.
Aye.
Dr. Martyr.
Yes.
Ms. Pierce.
Aye.
Mrs. Ragland.
Aye.
Ms. Segrist.
Aye.
And Mr. Smith.
Yes. Thank you. All right. 7.6, Brian.
Right. So we've been working with CDE to develop, really requesting funds to the BEST program. And this is for Main Street School. And so we sat down with them and went through really an extensive master plan for the school. Between that team, we came up with about a $13 million master plan. Felt like the district could only afford at this time about $5 million. And the BEST program matches that to an extent. Here we identified $1.6 million match, and after this morning's meeting they came back and said actually we think we can do $2.3 million. So I have to sign that agreement next week, so I had to run with this particular document, but But yeah, that's the plan, and so it will incorporate kind of a main entry to the school. We're redoing the HVAC, which needs it desperately. Fixing up of that particular school. So,
Ryan, is Main Street our oldest building, or one of the oldest buildings?
yeah, only. Yeah, it sure is visible though. I mean, it's right on Main Street, and yeah, it is.
It always looks really good when you drive by.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're making some good headway on the school, and truthfully, I'm excited about what's
It's
gonna
actually
happen.
the original high school, isn't it?
It was, I think, Longmont High School. Did you go there?
The original Longmont High School?
Yeah, the original Longmont High School. I did not go there, just so you know.
Well, shortly after it was built.
Oh.
Sorry, it just
I
slipped
did
out.
not. I did not. No, I know people who did, though.
Okay.
Yeah, who did that. But anyway, it's a beautiful building. And I know that you worked on the parking lot this past summer. I don't know. I'm going to drive by it almost every single day, I think. The parking lot looks great. The playground a couple years ago. So I think I share everybody else's sentiments. I couldn't be more excited.
Yeah. Yeah, it desperately needs some attention.
Having spent some time in the building today, I think it's really important that the quality of the facility ultimately mirror the quality of the programs that we carry out in that building. And while the building is functional at this time, it is in I wouldn't say desperate, but it is in significant need of freshening up and then some major renovations that I think you have identified in the $13 million plan. So, as I understand it, we have in the current bond about, plus the BEST grant, maybe the ability to get halfway there?
Yeah,
For- or so.
Providing we get the grant, 7.4 after today's meeting is what it would end up being. R5 plus 2.4 from the state.
And do we have longer-term plans to progressively freshen and restore the building to something approximating its previous glory?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think my answer would be we, in our construction group, we're constantly looking at how we can improve really all of our buildings, but those buildings that are that truthfully need some assistance. And so so today, the additional $7 million, we're going to have to wait till the end of the bond to see how things unfold. But that's our goal, is to continue improving that building. And,
Great.
We're not going to stop until it's done.
Great.
Yeah, I mean,
I
I reflect on the fact that while we went for a $260-some million bond, we could have used $350.
Yeah, or more. Yes.
Or more. Yeah. Yep. All right. But we make the most of what that's exactly right.
Yes.
All right. So any other questions? Otherwise, I'll ask for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Dick?
Second. Oh.
By Barb, take your pick. And
three of us.
Would you please call, yeah, that almost constitutes a quorum for approving it. So would you please call the vote?
Mr. Ahrens.
Aye.
Dr. Martyr.
Yes.
Ms. Pierce.
Aye.
Mrs. Ragland.
Aye.
Ms. Segrist.
Aye.
And Mr. Smith.
Yes. All right, thank you. All right, action item 8.1, recommendation to adopt a resolution authorizing the sale of the district-owned land. And there are a number of parcels that are part of this, and Brian's going to walk us through that.
I am, and I put this together this afternoon really just to try to capture everything involved with this particular land sale and help you see why maybe some of our decisions to head in that direction. And so First off, on your slide is Thunder Valley K-8. I just wanted to bring that to your attention. The next is Spark. Preschool. And so the first piece of land that potentially we are selling is this 10.8 acres. It is appraised at $2.7 per square foot. Basically, $1.28 million is the final appraisal value. And then I wrote in there the land only appraisal value is $350,000. The point of that is this has ball fields on it, and if somebody should come along that wants to buy ball fields, the price would be $1.28 million. Otherwise, if somebody wants to build houses on it, typically the land price would go for $350,000. So today, Carbon Valley uses that site, and we do not. So, if I can continue.
Can I just ask, are there any potential buyers that are ball players? Is anyone willing to play ball with us?
Yeah. Truthfully, it's pretty hard to sell a ball field for ball fields.
Yeah, okay.
I guess that's what I'm trying to say. And so we'll see how that unfolds. Area 2 is 7.8 acres. It is undeveloped, and it appraised at $420,000. And then finally, Area 3, there are 10 residential lots, and they appraised at $12,000 a lot, of course, $120,000. So that is the sum of these 12 parcels. And so this is the 1,000-foot circumference from the active oil well on the site, which renders the majority of it inactive or unusable for a school, is what I should say. And then the next piece is the floodplain, which sits there. And so as a school, it is not necessarily a viable piece of property for us. And so just that. So this request is to allow us to put those pieces of property up for auction. It would be handled through our purchasing department, and it would follow board policy, which is a sealed bid, I believe is how they plan to do it.
Questions?
Just to confirm, we would have, it would come back to the board once the seal bids have been opened and a staff recommendation, and we would ultimately approve the sale?
I can do that.
Is that, I thought that was what I read in the...
I don't recall the board policy that way, but it's okay.
Well, it's in the agreement, I think, itself. It's not board policy, but it was in the written agreement for, yeah.
Yes, we will bring it back.
Am I not? Yeah, board reserves the right to reject any and all bids it receives if it chooses to pursue the sealed bid sales approach. So that's part of the sales agreement.
Yeah, good. I'm glad you. All right.
So it does come back to us.
We'll bring it back.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Good. All right.
The important one there actually is the one with the ball fields on it. I mean, if somebody comes and offers us 1.3, we're in, but we'll see.
Yeah, for sure. All right. I don't know. All right. Very good. Well, I'll take a motion to approve.
So moved.
By Paula.
Second.
By Karen. And Barb, would you please call for the vote?
Mr. Ahrens.
Aye.
Dr. Martyr.
Yes.
Ms. Pierce.
Aye.
Mrs. Ragland.
Aye.
Ms. Segrist.
Aye.
And Mr. Smith.
Yes. Action item 8.2 is a recommendation to approve the contract increase to the architecture agreement for the Niwot High renovation project.
Right. We have been working on the Niwot High renovation project. We hired Anderson Masondale to do a master plan for the school. And to be honest with you, I have a nice model that eventually I'll show you, but I don't know, it's kind of exciting to see how we're We're trying to maybe make the school a little more near in the design. You know, if you go through there now, it's a little wandery, if you will. And so it's kind of fun to see how
Like a
we're
maze.
cleaning that up. So this is really just to complete the architectural contract, which makes it a $1.02 million contract with Anderson Masondale to complete the design work. Dick, you asked me earlier perhaps what the construction costs were. They're right at $9 million. So that puts this architect at 12%, actually a little under 12%.
Right.
Includes the master plan. Again, it depends on the complications of the project.
And that's what we would expect for normal, the normal percent for architectural fees based compared with the construction cost. It's about 10% or so.
Yes.
As we discussed.
That is correct. And in fact, I looked in the bond plan, and I actually did program in 12% in the bond plan. So what that's worth.
Yeah, thank you. I just, it's helpful to have those ballpark figures to measure, expenditures against sort of industry standard.
You're used to looking at teacher salaries. That's the problem. Everything else seems more expensive.
No, actually, I was thinking about my prior life where we had architectural and then construction cost.
Yeah. So keep that in mind. We'll talk about Meade next.
Thanks.
All right. Any other questions? All right. Otherwise, then I'll ask for a motion to approve 8.2.
So moved.
By John.
Second.
By Karen.
I want.
Barb, would you please call the vote?
Mr. Ahrens.
Aye.
Dr. Martyr.
Yes.
Ms. Pierce.
Aye.
Mrs. Ragland.
Aye.
Ms. Segrist. Aye. And Mr. Smith.
Yes. All right, thank you. 8.3, recommendation to approve a contract increase to the architect agreement for Meade High addition and renovation.
Right, and so this is a $36,000 increase to the contract to do some additional design work for us in the parking lot area. That's what this is for. We bring these back because they're over $1 million, and that's why they come back.
Thank you.
My point here, this project was $12 million, just a little bit over. So the math on that, it's $1 million contract. So they're running, what, about
8.5.
There you go. So the complexity of this one is easier. It's a big portion of it was a brand new building, brand new wing, whereas Niwot High School, all the renovation happens inside of that building. So hence the difference.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, good explanation. All right. Any questions? Otherwise, I'll ask for a motion to approve 8.3.
So moved.
By Paula.
Second.
By Dick. Barb, please call for the vote.
Mr. Ahrens.
Aye.
Dr. Martyr.
Yes.
Ms. Pierce.
Aye.
Mrs. Ragland.
Aye.
Ms. Segrist.
Aye.
And Mr. Smith.
Yes. All right. 8.4, recommendation to approve the selection and contract award for construction manager general contractor for Lyons Elementary addition and renovation.
Right. So we've been working with Lyons Elementary and their design advisory group, which is parents, teachers, and of course staff there. When we originally built the bond plan, we talked about adding a new classroom as well as fixing the art area. And so this contractor, which is Adolphson and Peterson, has developed the construction piece of this, and this will authorize them to move forward and build this particular project for us. So it includes a new classroom, and some renovations, or major renovations actually, to the art area, which makes it like an art room, if I can say that. Yeah, it's pretty small. Yeah.
Has the design work been done?
It is in process, like 90% complete, and that's why we can take this.
Thanks.
Any other questions? All right, then I'll ask for a motion to approve 8.4.
So moved.
By Joey.
Second.
By Paula.
Barb?
Mr. Aaron's.
Aye.
Dr. Martyr.
Yes.
Ms. Pierce.
Aye.
Mrs. Ragland.
Aye.
Ms. Segrist.
Aye.
And Mr. Smith.
Yes. Thank you very much. All right. Discussion items other than Chloe Kim's and Sean White's performance in the half pipe. Are there any other discussion items for the board this evening?
Just a reminder, Saturday night, Carbon Valley.
Right. So Saturday evening, right. A couple of events coming up Saturday evening, Carbon Valley dinner. Hope you all can make it. Next Wednesday is the study session, and I want to point out next Thursday, I believe, the 22nd, is a performance by the Longs Peak Band playing
And
an
Westview.
original. Beg your pardon?
And Westview.
And Westview, playing an original piece of music by.
Right.
I'm going to pronounce her name. Mahala.
McCall, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
At Longmont High School. Admission's free, and it should be a really neat event. So hopefully we'll see you there. And with that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Well, we got to also say Michaela Schifrin's running later tonight.
Oh, is that right?
She is.
Well, there you go.
Finally,
All right.
after 2 days
After.
of being standing by the gate.
Yeah.
Anne-Marie's not here. She always makes that motion. Does that mean we have to stay?
No. You can stay.
Sorry. So moved.
By Karen.
Well done, Karen.
Karen takes it.
Second by John. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we stand adjourned. Thank you.